Hey Daniel,
Hey Pascal, how's it going, man?
good. I think our live stream did that fancy thing again where they show us before our intro comes. I'm not sure, but anyway, hi everyone. Daniel, stop messing with the slides. We know you can.
It's the first time you've given me control. Third season, now I
Yeah,
have control of the clicker. You're lucky I didn't close the box on you, man.
first time I give you control, and after two in the third season, I'm already sorry about it. Oh my God, this is gonna
First
be,
time for everything.
it's gonna be a great year.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is gonna be a fun one.
Welcome everyone and welcome to season 3. This is already the third season. And for those who remember season 2, we ended the year with a cliffhanger. We ended with
Yeah.
Log4j, a vulnerability without knowing the consequences. Well, everybody knew that it was going to go on for a while, and that's what we see happening. We're not going to discuss Log4j for that matter. We have plenty of other things to talk about. The year just started. Oh, thank you, Daniel. So,
I'm trying to earn back your trust one click at a time.
yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
So for this month's episode, we're gonna cover what happened in the month of January of this year, which is already a lot. So a lot to
It's been a
discuss.
busy month. It's
Yeah,
been a really busy month.
there have been lots of raids and arrests. So Daniel will cover all the raids and arrests from VPNLab, the REvil affiliates, ransomware affiliates in Ukraine, members of Silver Terrier, so the BEC group from where is it? South Africa.
Nigeria.
Nigeria, yeah, close
Yeah, yeah.
enough. And then the UniCC forum admin, followed by ransomware update, a smaller one, a more physical attack
Yeah.
one. About USB attacks was kind of funny. Then national threat landscape. So what are the nations up to? And there's quite a lot actually to discuss about nations this month.
Yeah.
I think that everybody knows the situation in Ukraine is pretty hot at this moment. Um, then, of course, with that situation in Ukraine, we have some attacks that came in Belarus. Some alerts about tensions between U.S. and Russia, and I would say NATO and Russia, but I think that U.S. is carrying the flag here in terms of
It's becoming a
tensions.
party. Everybody's invited.
Uh, Yeah, but it's NATO, but the one that does the talking is Biden. So I think that Europe again takes the backstage. So
Yeah.
typically for Europe, stay in the middle of the conflict and see what's happening. We will see them flying like, oh look, there's one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll see our weapons going to Ukraine.
They're already there, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. They got there 2 days ago.
And then there was Trend Micro, I believe, that came out with a new threat group linked to China, Earth Luxa, which smells a lot like another Winnti. I hope I say that correct. Is it Winnti or Winnti TI?
I'd say Winnti. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're gonna take on that occasion, gonna talk also about two of the tools that they're using, show you what they look like, how they use them. This is for educational purposes only that we show it, of course. We're not doing any tutorials, no demos, just to show you what they look like so that you have an idea what it looks like to be a Chinese attacker. We even have some insight pictures, so it might be interesting.
Yeah. So one thing I like about our streams is that we really kind of put a face to the names there. You
Hmm.
you want to see the action, we got the action for you.
Well, yeah, I think that picture was from 2007, so I think he looks rather different now.
A dox is a dox, man. It still goes
Uh,
on.
Baby face.
Yeah.
Then the North Korean hackers had a good year. Um, I mean, last year, and they started out the year with a bad year because their internet went down. Um, I don't know how
A
much
few times
internet they
now.
have, but they have at least 28 websites that I know. So and they went down. Um, Andorra went down, all
Yeah.
in the same month, and that's because of Squidcraft Games. So a mix between Minecraft, or actually Squid Game inside Minecraft, with Twitchers, so you know that Twitchers take a lot of attention. That's why we're also going to talk about the Apex pros that say that ranked is unplayable because of DDoS attacks. Oh yeah, also happened, 9-year-old kids launching DDoS attacks. So let me just check my son. He's
Yeah, make sure, man.
Yeah, he will be 9 in June. So I need to start looking for new equipment to block insider threats now.
He's
Crypto.
watching these videos, learning, man, taking notes.
Yeah, I really cannot imagine that he's gonna do a DDoS attack. He barely knows how to scam on Roblox. Come on.
You never know. He has potential. He could be the world's best bot herder.
Yeah, but
For government, white hat stuff only.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe UK kids are a bit more mature at their age, but 9-year-old seems like very, very young to start launching DDoS attacks.
Yeah, I was playing outside like in a sandbox at that age, not in,
Yeah,
like
well,
a digital
yeah.
sandbox, you know.
Yeah, they call it VMs now.
Yeah, no, the whole thing changed, man. You went from playing handball on the court to playing DDoS on a digital sandbox.
Yeah.
Didn't see that one coming.
And then we're gonna finish off with some crypto mining news. If you want to mine at home, we have a good option for you. So
Yeah.
Daniel, take it
So,
away.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely will. So the first thing that we'll jump into is the Ukrainian ransomware affiliate arrests. I say that because the ransomware group wasn't actually named, like the REvil raid that we saw. But anyways, there are 5 members of this group that were arrested in Ukraine. The leader of the group was a 36-year-old Kiev. Am I saying that right? Kiev resident, and his wife. And there's actually 3 other acquaintances with them that helped them attack 50 companies across Europe and the United States. The arrest was actually pretty major. They searched 9 different homes and seized 3 cars. You know, they're always luxury cars in these events because they've got to spend that money. And one of the defendants was actually found to be carding. So the malware that they're using to drop all the payloads was also exfiltrating information off the computer. So it was basically a fraud module involved in the virus that was carding and grabbing these credit cards. And what the suspect was doing was using these British bank cards to buy things online and then resell them online. So it was just a little quick flip. But was also charged with that crime. So the crimes that they were ultimately charged with was laundering money, unauthorized interference with computers, and also the distribution and sale of malicious software, which is pretty good charge. But the interesting thing was that Catlin, over the record, he had mentioned that this is the 5th major arrest of ransomware groups in Ukraine since 2021. So this was one of the major things we were talking about throughout 2021 was, are offensive operations, takedowns, arrests actually having an impact on the threat landscape? And I think that the general opinion was in 2021, they were light in numbers, right? So you had these arrests and you had groups reacting, but it wasn't really doing much. You know, you'd remove one threat actor from the threat landscape, and another one would quickly take their place. But what we're seeing, and something we'll cover in the next few slides, is that the month of January has kind of started off with a bang, and there's been a lot of arrests happening across the world. So it seems in general that those lessons were learned from 2021 and 2022 we're going forward full steam to remove some of these threat actors. So that was the Ukraine situation. This is fun. I love putting faces with names, and these are 2 REvil affiliates that were arrested in Russia. So the tables kind of turned the second week of January when Russian authorities arrested 20 REvil members in Russia. That's pretty major. I mean, when you start thinking about like how big are these groups and how big are all the affiliates and operators involved, and this is 20 members, and they were spread out across 25 addresses through Moscow, St. Petersburg, Leningrad, and Lipetsk. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not.
Lipetsk. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that region. Leningrad. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the first 3. 4th one's a curveball. So anyways, 20 members were arrested and 20 luxury cars were pulled, and these are some pretty nice cars, man. You know, if they ever get bored and want to send me one of these, you know, it'd be nice. But the videos of the raids were pretty insane. You know, normally when you watch these raids, there's normally like a lot of law enforcement trying to cut through doors and trying to get through safety. I mean, these people were really not surprised, or really surprised to be arrested, in my opinion. They just kind of had cash laying everywhere, passports everywhere, computers were unlocked. It seemed like very much a surprise for them. And that's something that was kind of covered in some of the previous TRLs that we talked about, where law enforcement action had happened, the second hacking of REvil, where they'd come back online. The US government had launched this campaign about backdooring and compromising their infrastructure. Then they brought it down, they disappeared. Well, there's a bunch of different ransomware groups at the time that started talking about like, hey, we need to start thinking forward that if the Russian government turns on us, are we going to go to China? What are we going to do? I think they're all thinking about that right now at this moment, because this changes things. The golden rule is if you're Russian, don't hack Russians, hack everybody outside of Russia. You're not going to be brought up on charges. Well, anyways, the United States authorities had asked Russia many, many times to arrest these people. They provided information, very, very detailed information about all these people. And the raid happened. They found about 426 million rubles, $600,000 in US currency, $500,000 in euros. And then they also found accessible crypto wallets. And one of the things that's funny is when you watch the video, you can see one of these wallets has about $8 million in cryptocurrency in it. And they haven't even verified the address of the account, which just blows my mind that you'd have that much cryptocurrency in the account where you really haven't done anything to verify. I'm not a criminal, so I don't know if like you would verify something like that, but I do dabble in cryptocurrency, and I just find that absolutely insane. I don't even know what to say about that. But anyways, US authorities asked Russia to do this. Russians did it. So they arrested 20 members of REvil on one single charge, which was the illegal circulation of means of payment. And which is a very interesting thing, that they couldn't get them on any of the other crimes because the crimes weren't happening inside their country. But all that money definitely needs to be registered. Like they say in the United States, if you were to commit a crime and you were still, a million rubles from the Russians, you should pay taxes on that to the IRS, because if you do, the IRS wouldn't be able to come get you. The FBI would have to actually get the charges. So this is what you kind of see a lot of times with mobs, where they can't get them on the actual crime that they committed, but they can get them on money laundering. They can get them on all kinds of tax evasion crimes. That's really what it comes down to in the modern era, is getting them on the money side of things, on the crime side. And that's what we're seeing in Russia. Unfortunately, the Russian authorities will not be handing over the REvil affiliates to the United States. Even there was like a $10 million bounty, I think it was, Pascal, or something like that. The United States put out a $10 million bounty on REvil members. So, you just kind of wonder if Russia wants to collect that and send one over at a time, $10 million a flight.
If it would have been North Korea, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, go back and look at this. Like, you think these guys are sorry? I think they're sorry they got caught. I don't think they're sorry what they did to us.
Yeah, I just hope it will not end by the question, are you going to pay your taxes now? Yes, sir. Okay, you're free to go. Pay your taxes and go.
Well, it's a tit for tat type of thing with criminals, right? So they start paying their taxes on their illicit gains, and we just learn how to get them on their crimes better. It's ebb and flow. You got to go back and forth. Unfortunately, this is where we're at the moment, but things will change.
We're in a good place, so let's not destroy it.
Yeah.
Because if they go free, then it will be open season again. I think that now everybody in the ransomware business is pretty much shocked and afraid by what happened. So they're unsure at the least. So they will be more careful going forward.
A prediction maybe to put out there is that, or just a forward thought, these groups are basically spraying and praying. They're hitting everybody and anything they can with no limitations.
Yeah.
At some point in time, these threat actors are going to have to learn that, hey, $5 million a month is just as good as $50 million a month.
Yeah.
It's risk analysis, just like we go through. Like, how much do you want to expose yourself? And I think also when you look at like the VSA incident, there's not a lot of certainties. I'm not trying to attribute anything. I'm just saying that kind of blew up in their face, that there was a huge flood of victims that came in. They had a very hard time dealing with it. So at that moment, you kind of have like this wake up call, is either you have to control your affiliates and slow things down, or you need to beef up your infrastructure to be able to take on this many issues at once, events at once, right? But I think it's a learning moment. I think we're all going through this learning moment with heavy law enforcement and raids that are happening and issues that are happening inside ransomware groups. We're going to see a huge shift in landscape going through 2022. We're the fourth week in January here. So
yeah, promises to
we're
be a
still,
good one.
yeah, and I'm not even finished with all the raids and arrests either. So VPN Labs was seized. So no one was actually arrested from this group. The infrastructure was seized, but it was a VPN service that was established in 2008, and it cost about $60 a year. It's advertised on the darknet. One of the reasons why VPNLab.net became a target for law enforcement was because many cases that law enforcement was working found that this network was distributing malware, but also that this network was being leveraged for multiple ransomware campaigns. So once that was kind of decided and found upon that there was a bottleneck, they had to go. So the disruptive action had taken place on January 17th. And this was a coordinated action between several agencies and countries around the world, and it resulted in the seizure and disruption of 15 servers, ultimately taking the service offline. So this was an interesting raid. And then there was
yeah,
also
the picture is also interesting. It's the first time that I see a nice graphical design there by the police.
yeah.
VPNLab, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
The world
yeah.
on fire, good.
I mean, you got to troll with memes, and I appreciate you seeing law
Yeah.
enforcement getting into it. You know,
Yeah.
you got to meme the memers. I like humor. You know, like this is such a serious industry, and you kind of have to find ways to laugh at the little things that go through. Because like if you just get too serious and get too upset, you're gonna burn out so quickly. And I like this kind of humor. You know, you hear a story, a report, you go to the news, you go to the link, and you check it out, and you're like, oh wow, the authorities actually did that. Everybody has
Yeah,
kind
it
of a good laugh there.
also sends a message. Get ready.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So then there's another set of arrests. This is BEC, so this is business email compromise. It doesn't get a lot of attention, to be honest, in the infosec industry. You know, I guess it's maybe not as sexy as ransomware and all that stuff, but BEC like is probably one of the top threats in the whole entire threat landscape.
In
The amount
terms
of
of
money and victims.
volume, yeah, in terms of volume of money, yeah.
Yeah, volume of money and everything. It's brutal. Even getting into like the love scams and all the other stuff that happens around basic phishing emails. You know, such a low level tactic, but has such a high impact. It's pretty extraordinary. But anyways, on January 19th, Interpol had announced that Nigerian authorities had arrested 11 internet scammers. So this operation had been going on for a little bit. There was originally Operation Falcon 1, which had happened in 2000, I believe it was. And so Operation Falcon 2 was launched in 2021. Yeah, 2020 was Operation Falcon 1, 2021 was Operation Falcon 2. So that ran between December 13th and 22nd, which the Nigerian authorities, along with Interpol and a couple other security firms like Group IB and Palo Alto, were able to hunt down and identify several of these scammers. And the thing that's interesting is that they had found that not all, but some of these scammers were part of the Sliver Terrier criminal network, which is this large BEC fraud crime network. And as I said, the Group IB and Palo Alto were able to help identify some of these threat actors. And ultimately, they had discovered that they were these 11 members were associated with 50,000 attacks. So like, as we had said just a moment ago, that, you know, high volume of attacks, all these people, yeah, all they have to do is just send emails out waiting for someone to click on something. It's just, it's a game, right? And it's very successful in some way, you know,
well, yeah, some of those attacks actually take a lot of time and investigation because they need to find out who's the business relation that you're talking to, maybe send you a wrong invoice with a different label. I even know a friend where they actually picked up goods and then drove to a warehouse, and then they had to sell those stolen goods. The goods were never paid for, of course, because they had a scam going around it. But they go to pretty far extents, and it takes a lot of time for one scam to work. So when you say 50,000 attacks, that would be like, wow.
They had said one member of the group had 800,000 domain credentials and was using them for brute force attacks, just as an attempt to get into other people's computers. And another member of the group was monitoring 16 different companies' conversations.
Sponsored
and so back to what you're saying,
password, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, it's kind of interesting when you see that. So like they're monitoring networks, and you know, just to give our viewers a little bit of information behind that. So what they're doing is they're watching emails and conversations and waiting for a moment where they can slip in, they can divert a conversation, they can change a PDF or anything like that for billing. And then all of a sudden that simple payment that's going to ABC contractor is now going to the ABD contractor that's Silver Terrier. You know, and this happens across. Yeah, and it happens across the board on a couple different things. You know, real estate agents here in the United States, they always talk about how they're possibly compromised and people sit on their network waiting till the contract to go through. And the last day when the contract's sent over, account numbers are changed, no one notices. They send the money over to buy the house, and the money disappears instantly. So you know, phishing.
Those are the big ones. There was a smaller one in Germany. I mean, smaller, impacting individuals, where they had a scam with Social Security. With the COVID payouts, so you had that COVID help and that payout, and they were able to give people access to false portals, so they collected all the names and the account numbers, and then they resubmitted the actual form to the real website, but with their account number instead of the account number of the victims. So it's nobody actually got the money except for the guys who were in the scam.
It's pretty brutal. So we have another example a few slides later, but you know, it happens both digital and physical. You know, they'll try and send you emails, try and get you to click things, and they'll try and send you things in the mail and try and get you to plug them in.
Any reason that it's Nigerian? I'm thinking about the Nigerian prince. Is there something in the water over there that makes them so good at email scams?
I'm not a BEC expert. I know there's a couple people out there that I follow. I probably could ask them and figure out exactly why. It always seems that these scams are generating out of Africa in general. But you know, I don't necessarily think it's always all in Africa. I think I'd have to pull up some cases, but I believe that there's actually BEC scammers associated with these networks over there that have been found in Europe, the United States, and other countries as well. They're very diversified, but yeah, it does seem like they're pretty centrally located in one region of the world.
Well, yeah, it's the Nigerian prince who invented the principle, no? Or who invented the concept.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still waiting for like my $50 million, but you know, hopefully it'll come through one day.
Yes, Prince.
Yeah, I'll take it in cryptocurrency and XMR. Good luck keeping up.
You're gonna lose a lot by tomorrow if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a major arrest that happened down in Africa, and then back to Russia because the FSB does not want to be undertowed here. You had the Russian Federal Security Service, FSB. Ended up arresting the admin of UniCC and also a member of Infraud Crime Network. I'm really not too sure exactly when he was arrested. I think it was prior to the announcement. Russian law is a little weird how they detain people for court, but they're not like charged. You know, here it's very clear, like handcuffs into prison and wait until your court date. But anyways, the UniCC was a carder form. It was a very famous carding form. It was basically a place where threat actors could buy and sell stolen credit cards. There was a company called Elliptic, I hope I'm saying that right, that basically tracks cryptocurrency and transactions, and they claim that since 2013, the group had made $358 million. A lot of money. You know, that over $250 million in profit from flipping other people's credit cards.
It's about what North Korea made in 1 year, yeah.
But it's still impressive to think that, like, you know, these small little gangs of hackers that are flipping credit cards that might not have huge ceilings on them have made that much money.
$15 for a card or something, and that's already an expensive one.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to what I always say, like, these criminals are more resourced than some of the best security firms out here, that when you have these groups that have this much money on hand, they can afford to buy what's needed to counter your actions. They can even buy you out, type of thing. So definitely something to be worried about. But like I said, the confusion on the rest is a little weird. The record had stated that the UniCC admin announced that they're voluntarily closing on January 12th. But either way, it seems like this this group is definitely having an issue. Now, I wouldn't say that they're completely offline because I was able to actually go to the UNCC carding site, but of course you have to pay to become a member, and I'm not going to pay to be a fool. But the site is still up. It hasn't been taken down like VPNLab, so the infrastructure is still there. So to me, it seems like there's been a physical arrest. The threat actors have been removed, but the infrastructure still exists, which is always interesting to see like what happens to those forums after the arrest and if people come back or not, because criminals have this long history of being repeat offenders. Be interesting to see the way that plays out.
Yeah, that reminds me, we need to do an episode on Mozy as well. I was looking at the Mozy numbers like a week ago, and they're not going down, even though those guys have been in jail since September last year.
Yeah, it's something that I'd lightly touched on about the ecstasy IRC botnet. That there's a long tail of it. After the takedown and servers and everything, it was still going around.
Zombies, but still.
Yeah.
I'm talking about millions of hits per day, and I'm not talking about 1 or 2 on occasion. No, I'm talking about millions per day.
Well, it's kind of like the conversation that we were having the other day when we were going through the honeypots. Is there's people that spray for normal people's passwords, and there's criminals that spray for criminal passwords. So I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm just saying in general, at some point in time, like people's botnets get jacked by other people. So it's something to be concerned when you see someone, the admin, go to jail. And the possibility someone might else take over. That's where things become a wild situation, in my opinion. So, all right, to the bad USB section. We're out of the raids now. There was quite a few raids, but this was an interesting story. So this goes into our ransomware threat landscape update. There's been a lot of updates in the ransomware landscape. We really don't get too deep into ransomware, but I thought this one was a really interesting story to share because it kind of went with the whole phishing, and here we go into like real world phishing. But the FBI had warned this month that the group FIN7 was targeting U.S. businesses with USB keystroke injection attacks. So basically what they're doing is what we call in the industry a bad USB attack. They're sending USB with an Amazon gift card and a fake thank you letter to these people in hopes that they plug these devices in, which is kind of interesting. Like you're sitting there and you get this box and it says like thank you for so and so, and here's a fake Amazon gift card and a thumb drive. I'm plugging it in, but I'm plugging in a safe, secure device just to see what it does, right? But I think this is a very interesting tactic here. You always hear stories about like red teamers that drop USBs in parking lots, and people sure enough plug them in. You send them money and a USB drive, they're probably not thinking it's malicious.
Remember the killer USBs? I don't remember the exact name, but the USB, you put them in, it fries your motherboard. So
yeah. And then I really wish I remember the name of it. That the guy on Twitter, his name's MG, but he creates all kinds of fun stuff like this. And he made I think it was called a bad cable, where it's the same principle of a bad USB, but it's all within a charging cable. The charging cable looks pretty realistic, as I understand. There's a little bit of a texture difference, but it's really interesting to see like what red teamers and all these engineers develop for these kind of tactics. Like forward defense is very interesting.
In the cable itself, in the molding of the A side, so the side that you plug in the computer, there's microprocessors in there for the negotiation, so you can put more stuff in there. And this LeLigo is actually based on Arduino. These are small micro. Everybody can buy them. Everybody can program them. If you can write C, you can upload some microcode, do whatever you want to do with it. So it's not that hard, and they're easy to find. Satonic has them on his website, by the way.
Yeah. And I think Hack5 sells like these also, for red teamers that are looking to do this and test their employees. Definitely a valid, if you ever ask me if it's a valid attack vector, yes, it is, because FIN7, this isn't their first time doing it either. I think they started back in like 2020 doing COVID. So they're sending out COVID letters with USB drives and all that fun stuff. And now they've kind of, they moved on back to the Amazon gift cards, the fake Amazon gift cards too. I mean, come on. What's worse than getting malware on your computer, realizing your $500 gift card's not even real? You think the criminals could at least give you the free money, it costs of doing business, right? You're a sucker, but here's your gift card.
Yeah, fake gift card. With
Yeah, so
fake numbers, Amazon confirmed. They didn't work.
yeah. So the interesting thing with these devices is once they are plugged in, it injected a series of keystrokes. So like that's what a bad USB attack is. You plug in a USB device. As Pascal said, there's many little microprocessors in there. It runs a keystroke program. They're pre-scripted, and it downloads and executes malware payload. The interesting thing in this situation, though, is like this is where attribution gets really weird. So FIN7, when they deploy these malware payloads in the droppers, they're pulling black matter and REvil ransomware payloads. But the FIN7 group has been attributed to be the threat actors and operators behind the dark side and black matter ransomware campaign. So this is kind of weird. Like when I first read this, I had a hard time. I had to scratch my head. This threat actor group, FIN7, is also dark side and black matter. They're all the same people. Why they would be dropping REvil ransomware payloads is because the REvil is paying a lot of money to the affiliates. So, you know, sometimes
They have a lot
more
of money. We saw that.
Yeah, and sometimes you might make more money working for the enemy than you do for yourself, type of thing. And you know, it's very strange to see that, but needless to say, this group is a very serious threat group, in my opinion. If everything they say is correct and FIN7 is actually black matter, that is a very serious group that will probably be raided in the future.
FIN7 has always been creative. They are the one with the shell companies that were hiring.
Bastion Security,
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that very advanced, very brutal. They like to target us as researchers. They like to, in this recent campaign, they were targeting the transportation, the insurance industry, and the defense industry. So they're definitely swinging for the fences. I think this is a very interesting corner of the threat landscape and something to keep your eye on going forward. So, okay. I'm sorry, I feel like I've been talking forever. Yeah, back to Ukraine.
Wait until I start. I also have some scratches and attribution issues there coming up.
Yeah, so that's why I said January has been a really busy month. I mean, it's
confusing. Kind of just... we're moving back and forth, and Ukraine pops up every 5 slides. Russia in between. Okay.
I don't think Ukraine's going out of the story anytime soon, Pascal.
No, I don't think so.
I don't want to do any predictions or anything, but we started off 2022 with a boom. I'm just going to put it right there. But so these cyber attacks kicked off in Ukraine. A lot of these things kind of like have something to do with each other, but I'm not trying to connect the dots because I'm just trying to cover the news versus project what I think might be going on. But on the night of January 13th and 14th, so the beginning of the night of 13th, going the morning of the 14th, there was a massive attack that had hit Ukraine. 70 government websites were hit. Ultimately, 10 of those were defaced. Now, this is where like the news kind of gets confusing. Is there's early attribution saying that the alleged defacement was via CVE 2021 32648, which is the October content management system vulnerability. But it was later said by Ukrainian security services that the attack was a result of a hacker gaining access to a supply chain. So they're basically saying that the hacker gained access to the person that had admin rights to change their web content. But it's really not known still at the moment which of the cases is true. It could be that they're both true. But anyways, what it ended up happening is that you saw a very anti-Polish, anti-Ukrainian message posted up following high tensions between Russia and Ukraine. If you want to tie an event to it, Russia and Ukraine had gone into negotiations and talks with the United States and NATO. Things had fallen apart on the 13th, and other things started escalating in the region.
When were the attackers arrested from REvil?
They were arrested on the 14th.
Right after this, you say? Okay.
Yes. That's why I said I don't want to dive too deep in it, but there's a series of events that happen one after another, which really kind of confuses the security industry because like you see these attacks happen in Ukraine, you're like, oh, you know, it's possible Russia could have lost their mind here. And then you look over like, oh no, Russia's like saying they're arresting all of our REvil hackers that we asked for. And you know, it's Dr. Jekyll and Jekyll and Hyde type of situation. You know, like you don't know what the left hand and the right hand are doing type of thing. And
Well, it could have
you know,
been Belarus who
yeah,
orchestrated everything.
and I want to say it was like what Malware Tech Blog that said it. That, you know, in this industry, you gain more by waiting to comment on these events than just running out there immediately and start connecting dots. And I think he's 100% correct with that, especially going into this year. Is that there's so many events that are happening, such quick attribution that you know a lot of things change after the fact. And I don't think it's a good thing to stick your neck out that far in these situations. But this wasn't the only attack that happened in Ukraine. So there was even more drama that was involved around this. Is that on the 13th, so right when negotiations were somewhat failing, the Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center identified a destructive malware campaign targeting Ukraine that was called Whispergate. And this was very much similar to the NotPetya event. So this was designed to look like ransomware, but there was no recovery function. So this piece of malware was actually considered a destroyer.
Kill switch.
It was overriding. Yeah, kill switch, exactly. So it was overriding the master boot record and displaying a fake ransom note, which you see below. Then there's like second, third, and fourth stages, I believe Microsoft was talking about, that were downloading additional file corruptors. So the additional stages of malware is downloading was just trying to destroy the partitions and the bootloaders on different levels. They believe, I think it was Cisco Talos that had gone out and said this, that the initial access was likely to be a stolen credentials. You know, and there's a reason why I want to talk about the BEC thing is that, you know, a single person with 800,000 domain credentials gets one computer, drops one payload, and everything burns to the ground. And unfortunately, in this situation, it was targeting government, nonprofits, and IT organizations inside Ukraine. So bad so that there's some recommendations about moving infrastructure out of Ukraine because of the way this thing was targeting relentlessly. But it definitely a bad situation in general.
What's a Tox ID?
Tox ID is like a different form of chat. You know, there's was it Ratchet, like
Signal,
and there's basically
but
you know,
but with a stronger
like Jabber
username, yeah.
yeah, it's like I believe it's Jabber Tor. I haven't really got into Tox,
okay,
but
Jabber, yeah.
All the elitist
Private,
underground guys.
yeah, but
that.
Jabber, you would need the server. It's a private server, so it's not shared.
Yeah.
If you want to do it secure, use Jabber. You set up your.
I like Jabber.
Yeah, put up your own server. Yeah.
OTR and have a good old time. Yeah. It's not too shabby. And more attacks in the threat landscape. There's this Belarusian hacktivist group called the Cyber Parisians. They ended up launching an attack, and just, you know, side note that if you want to go check out their Telegram account, they have 65,000 subscribers. So if you want to know if they're a real threat, yeah, they are. They've been around for a year or two. And they have mainly targeted Belarus. But in this attack, they claim to have hacked the national railroad system of Belarus. This was actually verified by the train company. They said there was outages and disruptions. In a very strange move, this group hacked the railroad system for political reasons. They were demanding the release of 50 political prisoners in Belarus that apparently needed medical attention. And they also were trying to lock up the railroads to prevent the Russian troops from using, I guess, the railways to come into Belarus. So like right now, the Russians are building a position and they're utilizing infrastructure to build that position. And what happened is these hacktivists tried to disrupt the train system to prevent the Russians from utilizing that infrastructure to move closer into the Ukraine situation. So, you know, that's something to kind of consider and chew on, is that hacktivists are actually disrupting rail lines with ransomware because A, they want prisoners released, and B, they don't want Russians to invade another country through the use of their infrastructure. So just something to chew on there. I think Pascal's taking
Sorry.
control here.
Yeah, I was typing a message in the chat. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. You're all good. It's not on me now. So like you had one mistake at the beginning. I had one mistake at the beginning. You
Yeah.
have one, so we cancel out. We're at 0, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Ju
Do we
just
have a
don't click
question?
that one link when they send the chat. No, it's somebody. It's Powell who says, "Hey, greetings from
Hey,
Checkpoint Poland."
hello. So even more drama. And this is going to be the last little piece here. But the U.S. is now warning of possible Russian cyber attacks. So in the middle of all this tension, somehow the United States has got themselves involved in negotiating between Russia and Ukraine. So that has led DHS to warn that Russia would consider conducting a cyber attack against the U.S. basically if they felt threatened. So the posturing is if we make a move and you make a move and we feel threatened, we might DDoS you. And so the Homeland Security came out and said the likelihood would be a low-level DDoS attack to a destructive malware attack aimed at U.S. infrastructure, which is a pretty wide. I mean, that's the whole entire run of threat vectors. If you ask me, like, yeah, from DDoS to destructive malware. Okay, cool.
Well, they're calling
We're not gonna
low-level
leave.
DDoS attack. That's nice.
Well, it's something to debate, right, and talk about it. I think in general it is a low-level tactic, but I think it's a tactic that's never going to, like a handgun, right? Like I don't want to get too deep into this, but
it's easy to perform. It's easy to run away.
It's effective. You don't need a you don't need a nuclear bomb, like destructive malware campaign. Sometimes just one precise packet in the right location can topple systems and cause the impact that you're looking for without destroying everything. Once you destroy everything, there's no coming back. So yeah, the DHS analyst also said that Moscow's threshold for launching these attacks is very high. So just to kind of put ice on the situation, they're not saying that Russia is going to come out and attack us immediately. They're just saying, hey, if we continue walking down this path with Russia, there could be consequences. And I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say with any confrontation. Once you cross a certain threshold, certain things happen, right? But this is all coming at the growing tension between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States. And as you saw, there's a lot of the arrests and a lot of the events that are happening. The threat landscape in general at a nation state level is starting to boil. And this was something I was saying in December, coming into January, is that moving forward into 2022, we're going to see more cyber attacks as a proxy for nation state activity, which is going to make it increasingly more difficult for people like us to have conversations about the activity, the consequences, and the actions. It's going to be a very interesting year, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is another example where the physical and the virtual are used hand in hand to amplify each other. With Russia being close to the border, and then Ukraine, they don't want them to join NATO. Of course, the US don't want to say no to that, or don't want to give guarantees that Ukraine cannot join NATO, because if they join, then they can put their rockets at the border. Well, yeah, hey, the rockets are already there. Then Russia started putting their tanks through Belarus. Belarus did a cyber attack to stop the railway, so the tanks could not drive on that railway. And then, of course, they start on cyber, but now they make themselves vulnerable for any proxy attack. Now imagine that China says, oh, this sounds like a good moment. Let me send out a little attack to the US in the name of Russia. Try to put it on the back of Russia. Escalate the whole thing.
I'll carefully say this. I think China is taking note and watching the event in Ukraine as something to learn from with the future event in Taiwan. That this is almost a parallel, that Russia is trying to do something in Ukraine that China is trying to do in Taiwan. And if you are watching this and paying attention, you're probably understanding that this is a lesson right now. Whatever happens here will, as they say, as above, so below. So, whatever happens here will probably happen there.
Taiwan and China will come back a little bit later, I think, in this presentation.
Strong second. I think that was a good setup for you there, Pascal. You can go ahead and take it away now.
Quiet my phone first. Just hear a message coming in. Lucsa, a strange name. Yeah, it's I don't know where they got the name. I tried to Google it, but I found Earth, obviously, but no idea what Earth looks like. So I put a picture of a pirate with with some loot because that's actually what they do. They do they're pirates out for financial games, cyber espionage. Nothing too out of character for China. You would say financial gain is not typical for China. They're more espionage. North Korea is the one that is full in on financial gain. Yeah, I do agree. However, we also know that many of the attackers that are linked to state-sponsored organizations that they can take their homework, or better, that they can take their work home. So once they leveraged one of the victims and they took all the intelligence that they need and they say, okay, now we have everything that we need, they can just take the initial access back home and then put some ransomware in there and make some money from it. That's one of the perks of being a hacker in a group that is state sponsored, I would say, for China. It's typical for their tactics.
Yeah.
So Trent Michael dubbed it Earth Luxa, but there's some confusion because there's many overlaps and many links to Winnti. There are some that say that it is Winnti, others say it's not Winnti, others have doubts. We tend to always balance in the middle, like let's see what happens. We take our popcorn and we sit and wait and enjoy the show. But
Yeah, you got it if you have front row seats. I mean, come on.
so the targets that they found for Earth Luxa for the attacks, and those were recent attacks, end of last year and also this month. So the targets were government and educational institutions, religious movements, pro-democracy, human rights organizations in Hong Kong. Fits the bill perfectly for Winnti, I say. COVID-19
Yeah.
research organization, the media. Motivation is cyber espionage and financial gain. Technique, spear phishing, watering hole attacks, known vulnerabilities. Proxy shell, Oracle, Glassfish were the most recent one that they abused a lot. So proxy shell is the exchange vulnerability. Remember, we started last year with the exchange vulnerability, which was a 0-day and was used by Chinese actors. It was called proxy shell. We started with a small boom last year. This year we start with a big boom. Oracle Glassfish is a Java server, so Java server pages, GSP. And those are known to be vulnerable to web shells. That's why you're gonna see in the payloads they have AntSword and Behinder, which are web shells that can be installed on web servers. And then other payloads, backdoors typically, Cobalt Strike as the initial backdoor, then to download the more another backdoor like Doreman, Funny Switch, ShadowPad, the Winnti malware itself. Those are all different backdoors. I'm going to show some examples like ShadowPad and AntSword just to give you an idea what they look like. But the others like Doreman, Funny Switch. So sometimes it's the same tool in a new version that was discovered by another group of researchers that got another name. Because we also have plugins. They're all almost connected. And when I was looking into these things, into these tools, I came in touch with the authors of these tools, and then these authors were connected to a hacking group, and then that hacking group suddenly was connected to the government-sponsored attacks, and then suddenly I came out that this hacking group was part of Winnti, or one of the teams on Winnti. So it all comes back again to Winnti. So everything leads to Winnti in this case. So I'm pretty sure there's something that might be related between Earthlux and Winnti. So a web shell. What is a web shell? A web shell is when an attacker compromises a website, he can install something malicious on that website to give him access to other things. So he can execute something on that website. And typically you need a website that is not a static website, because on a static website there's no runtime environment. But if you have a PHP website or a .NET website where you have ASPXs or Java server pages or a CGI website that runs Python, and that corresponds exactly with the different modules that you see on the right side of the slide under the awesome script. Those are the actual web shells that are available for this AntSword. And AntSword is open source, so you just go on Git, you search for the AntSword project, and you have all the code that you need to to actually what they call it is a open source cross-platform website administration tool. They just forgot to mention that it's not for your website, but for your victim's website. Uh, no, they also know very well that it meets the needs of pen testers, and security researchers, and of course, shall not be used for illegal purposes and profitability, like with most POCs that are out there. But at least this one is not traded privately. It's one of the few that you will find that are not traded on underground and private or sold. Some are traded between hacking groups, others are sold. However, in this case, I think that there are paid plugins. So the basic framework. So what you do is you install that tool, you start that application, and I will provide the links towards tutorials. Palo Alto was one of them, and then there was another person that I forgot the name. But I will put the links in the description below, and make sure that you can see those tutorials. So when you start the tool, you can decide which web shell to use, and you're gonna say what type. Is it a PHP server that you want to control? Is it ASP, ASPX? And then you get that shell code, and then you need to compromise the server, put it there. Once it's there from this interface, from the same tool that you run on Windows, you can connect to your web shell. You give it a password. It's a unique password that you put in. Typically, it's something that's in the web shell, hard-coded, that you put. So, and then you can connect to that web shell, and then you can start the terminal. So then you get terminal access to the server, you get file manager access, database. So you can do lots of things. However, you are limited with the user account that the web server is running, of course. So it's not like you get a root access immediately, but yeah, from a terminal, you can move across the network. You can escalate privileges, gain root access. So there's enough possibilities to go from there. Another feature, another one that they used is ShadowPad, and that's where the whole rabbit hole started. Like last night, they said, okay, I want to write a little bit about ShadowPad, understand and explain to the people. And there I went down a rabbit hole, and I recovered only a couple of hours later, just to find out that it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Uh, so ShadowPad is a modular
rabbit holes.
yeah. That's what happened when you do research. You go you go into a rabbit hole, but before you can scroll back and come back out, it's a little bit late. Unless you find some light at the end of the tunnel, but typically there is none. So you have to go in reverse, and that takes a long time. So a modular backdoor. So a backdoor means you install it on typically a Windows server in this case, and then there's a bunch of plugins that can be loaded into that software. That can either be embedded, so with the initial download of the payload, or can be loaded remotely from a command and control server. So plugins that ShadowPad has give access to file operations remotely. So from a remote interface, you can get access to the files of that server that you compromised and you installed the backdoor on. You can manage the processes, services, the registry, command line shells, port mapping, for extracting information or for getting access. Keyloggers, you can take screenshots of the system. So typically something you would use on a desktop in different kinds of compromises and hacks, but also for ransomware, for dropping ransomware. And ShadowPad is already there for a while. There's a whole history behind it. ShadowPad itself emerged in 2015. And for those who remember, we already talked about supply chain attacks last year, and we talked about the CCleaner. So this cleaner software that had a supply chain attack that had a backdoor installed. Well, that was ShadowPad. Netzerang, so the network visibility company and network monitoring, their tools were also infected by ShadowPad, so another supply chain. And ShadowHammer, so the Asus Live Update tool that was infected with a backdoor, which was ShadowPad. And when you go look, the history behind ShadowPad is there's two main authors. You have Wicked Rose, which is one of the hacker for hire that was working for a Chinese hacking group, which is called the Network Crack Program Hacker Group. Those were also tied to nation operations with the Hong Kong universities that got hacked. And he's basically one of the hacker for hire for this group. And when he get paid like 250 yen, I believe it was, he would give like 50 yen to the group, and then the 200 was for him. So a real hacker, real leader of the group. Not a community player, I would say.
4 for me, 1 for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see a picture of him there in the top. That was back in 2006 or 2007, I believe. And then there was and the picture below is the actual group. So that's the Network Crack Program Hacker Studio. That was the studio where all the heavy things were happening.
I've got to ask Pascal, like,
Yeah.
how many times have you been in a skiff or a war room and seen 6 dudes with 6 pants on a dry hanger in the background? I mean, think about it. Like, they must be really going at it if they got changed clothes inside their war room.
Or they got wet for a reason, or they shit their pants. There's only 2 options there. Maybe it was a rainy day. You don't know. Maybe it was raining at that day. They all came in. Clean pants.
I will find that picture just very interesting, man.
Yeah, I have no clue what it does there. You can always ask him.
Dare me and I might.
No, I got to tell you the website MG Hacker that it says there. And by the way, the pics are credit from Ken Dunham and Jim Melnick. They wrote a report about Wicked Rose and also the Chinese hacker group. So the NCPH. So another part of the authors is WHG, which is the author of another well-known backdoor, which is PlugX. So he had already some experience with backdoors, and they started working together. Now WHG is not part of the NCPH. He was an affiliate of Rose, and they worked together, and they created a new better backdoor called the NCPH remote control software, which is also known as Jinwui in some by some researchers. So that was about 2007, and that controller was freely shared across the NCPH websites. But you could also ask for the source code, and for a certain amount of money, you would be able to get the source code to customize that remote control software. And out of that remote control software then came, of course, this Winnti malware. That was the backdoor that was used by the Winnti group, but also by many other groups. Now, who's Winnti group itself? Because Winnti, that is one of the biggest rabbit holes I ever saw. There's so many articles already written about it. Luckily, there's some people that have overview, so I have like 10 links, I think, that reference this one slide, with several researchers and people that are linking back to this. And the interesting part is it all touches in some ways to other stories that we have, like Battle State Games that was targeted and attacked by the Winnti group, Escape from Tarkov. And it happens to be that Escape from Tarkov last year was one of those that was DDoSed as well. I'm not saying that it's related in both attacks, but I'm just saying that, yeah, they all, it's always the same targets that are popping up. So the Winnti is also known as APT41. I should put a space there. I'm not correct. Some others call it barium. Also lead was associated with that because Microsoft split the Winnti group in 2 teams. One team that was targeting the corporate side of things, and the other team that was targeting the gaming side, because that hacking group was involved in many of gaming and government and corporate, and was like, yeah, that's like 2 different kind of branches with different objectives and different techniques that they used. Now, most recently, they were attacking many diverse companies. We will come back to some examples, but the most recent attacks that they were leveraging, or vulnerabilities that they were leveraging, were Citrix, Cisco vulnerabilities, and also Zoho Managed Engine. I don't know, but last year I saw many vulnerabilities pass from Zoho Managed Engine, the open source tool for what is enterprise resource planning, ERP. there were quite some vulnerabilities out there, and they are leveraging those. Also, the use of open source tools and living off the land with techniques such as Metasploit, Cobalt Strike. And that information was from Mandiant. That was from the Mandiant report. So Cobalt Strike as the initial loader, but then the backdoors are their own backdoors. And you can see additional backdoors: Crosswalk, Port Reuse, Pipemon, ShadowPad, Funny Switch, PlugX. They're all related in some way. Like PlugX was the one that came before ShadowPad because the author was linked to it. Remember, PlugX is still showing up in newer versions, like in 2021. So last year there was some new version of PlugX that was discovered being used. Pipemon is also like a clone of one of ShadowPad or PlugX. Funny Switch, same thing. So they're all kind of related, and all related to China. Um, then revenue, typically they go for in-game currency. So they try to steal from inside the game. Those games that have skins to sell or loot or other things, they try to steal from there. Or the theft of source code. That's the typical generator for gaming. And then also they do some operations sponsored by government, and in this case, yeah, Chinese government, so the PRC, asking them to attack and spy and get information on specific ethnic groups, and especially targeting Hong Kong universities. Corporate espionage, engineering, and pharma was involved, and you can see that the long list of gaming and pharmaceutical and engineering victims here below. In gaming, Unity 3D, Battlestar Games, known for Escape from Tarkov. It's a Russian, both are Russian, both are in St. Petersburg. Several universities in Hong Kong, a Thai game developer, Electronics Extreme, that makes the game Infestation. South Korea, Taiwan MMO, massive multiplayer online game developers that were also targeted by them. Game Force in Germany, further in Germany, Bayer, BASF, Siemens, Henkel, TeamViewer, ThyssenKrupp. That's all in Germany, and then Marriott in the US, Valve, Roche in Switzerland, and then two in Japan that Sumitomo, I've never heard of it, and Shin-Etsu also not, and Lion Air in Indonesia. So they're pretty much all over the world, and I think that this list is actually limited. Those are the ones that I could find based on just clicking a couple of links and looking through a couple of reports. So the list must be much longer than that. So that's all Chinese related and Winnti. Not Chinese related, but North Korean. And I know that our friend Kim loves some good sarcasm. So I found a picture of Kim when he was small.
No, that's him at the current
throne.
age. No, that's him current age, I believe. That's little Kim.
So North Korea is also known as the Lazarus Group, and you know that this name came back a couple of times in the ransom DDoS campaigns because they were posing as Lazarus Group and coming to get money, and we said at that moment, yeah, that's a typical tactic from Lazarus. Lazarus is driven by finance, and yeah, that's because of all the embargoes that they have against them. So they cannot actually make money almost in North Korea, or they have to do it illegally to get foreign currency. And one of those illegal methods, next to selling clothes, what do they all do? Yeah, they sell clothes. They have restaurants in different cities where they make money, where they have people working, people that do not get paid for working there. That's yeah, that's a little bit the extortion of the people in North Korea. Unfortunately, that's connected to that. And yeah, cyber attacks is of course a good part of the income. If you want to know more about that, search for Bureau 39. Bureau 39 it's on the third floor, Office 9. That is the office that does the taxes, but that's actually, that office is doing the revenue, the money gathering for Kim. So that's like his personal banker or investor or I don't know what, but they make sure that the money comes in and goes to him. That's basically it. And then they decide to use it for making nuclear weapons and for for his
I was gonna say
lifestyle,
he goes
of
and buys
course.
all the Lamborghinis that he has, of which he has none.
How can he get access to a Lamborghini? There's no way you can import one except illegally. You can drop ship one, but literally drop one with a parachute.
He
Yeah.
could probably get one from China. Probably might not be real, but
If he would have had one, I think we would have seen it. I don't
yeah.
think he's the kind of guy that hides stuff like that.
He's like the only hacker in the world that doesn't buy a Lamborghini with all of his ill-gotten gains.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. He's the boss of the hackers. He's the head of. He doesn't do hacking himself. And by the way, I don't think there's actually no hacks coming from inside the country. I believe that
Yeah,
the most skilled hackers that he has, they are traveling outside of the country and they're performing the hacks from other countries. So because yeah, hey, there's almost no internet there. So we're gonna
very
come back to
small,
that
very.
internet. That's like the next slide is about the North Korean internet. Um,
Yeah.
so the typical targets are investment firms and crypto, all kinds of exchanges, but also cryptocurrency exchanges more recently because yeah, those are easy targets compared to actually transferring money because there's not a lot of control. I I remember with the Bangladesh heist, the Bangladesh heist was about couple of 100 million that they tried to exfiltrate, but they only got away with 60 million. And the reason that it was detected that they were stealing money from that Bangladesh account, so they infiltrated SWIFT and then they took over the Bangladesh transactions and they moved them to their
Mhm.
accounts. However, they made a mistake in the way that they wrote, what was it again? It was
And
uh,
it was the way they wrote bank.
yeah,
I believe
yeah. It was bank or non-for-profit organization or something. It was
it
just
was
a
a
spelling.
typo.
Yeah, it was a spelling
Yeah.
mistake. So and that got the Germans worried. The Germans who saw the transaction coming through said so much money, and that's like a spelling mistake on something that's so much money that doesn't happen often. So we're gonna block it and investigate first. So they only got away with like 60 million, but if not through
Yeah.
that Swift hack, they could have moved a lot more.
Oh yeah.
So they have, and there's lots of controls there, but on crypto, I don't think that anybody is looking at, well, except for Chainalysis, because they are the ones who came up with the report here. But there's nobody controlling where the money is moving to. And yeah, cryptocurrency exchanges, they have a lot of money sitting in hot wallets. The money that they need for trading, they keep it in a hot wallet. The hot wallet is one that's connected to the internet, so that can be used where the money is, where they can actually use that currency. A cold wallet is one that's offline. So cryptocurrencies
Yeah.
also store a lot of money in cold wallets. They keep them offline so they cannot be stolen or compromised. But yeah, of course, once you get access to a hot wallet, it's easy to extract money from it. So, and Chainalysis is the company that looks at all crypto movements. So you know that like in Bitcoin is anonymous but traceable. So that means that, yeah, you don't have to link your identity to it, but when you do transactions, when you start at one point, you can follow the transaction until somebody goes to an ATM and extracts money from it, and then there's a camera, and then you get your identity uncovered. So it's anonymous, but it's not untraceable, which is different with other funds like Monero, for example. It's much harder to trace, but Bitcoin is quite easy to trace. And Chainalysis are specialized in that tracing, so they trace the money going from those hot wallets into actually DPRK wallets. So they are tracing the DPRK wallets, and they have a pretty good idea how much money they make each year. And you can see that in 2021 in trend that is going up from a crypto point of view. They made like 400 million. 2018 was also a good year apparently because they made even more than that, close to 600. Well, yeah, 500, over 500 million dollar that they made in digital assets. So that's the total value hacked, and that's for 7 attacks. So 7 known attacks that they are sure about. There can be more, of course. So that's the income. So 400 million for a year. It's not bad.
Pretty good actually. I think REvil made $100 million one year. So
Yeah.
yeah. Crazy money. That's why I always say they're making so much money. It's not fair anymore.
Yeah, we are always talking about the ransomware because it impacts enterprise, but at the same time, those guys are getting money out of crypto exchanges, and it's almost goes unnoticed until you see how much it is. It's like, what, 400 million?
Yeah.
It's like,
Same with BEC. You don't think it's that big, and then all of a sudden
yeah,
you look at the numbers and like, whoa.
yeah. So and then yeah, yeah, more recently, I would say yesterday, day before yesterday, a day before yesterday, North Korean internet was reportedly down. Um, we're not sure that it was a DDoS attack. There's a researcher that is monitoring the web servers and the email servers in North Korea, and that's why I put that meme there. That meme was well known back in the day, but it's from 2016. So I don't know if the number of websites doubled by now, but in 2016 there was a researcher that looked at the whole DP domain or DNK domain better. Was it, no, it was DP or NK. .nk or .dp?
DK. I don't know.
I don't. Okay, so he searched for all the servers that were related to that, and he found out that a total of the internet of North Korea consists of a total of 28 websites. So that's when that meme came out, like 28 websites.
I think it's kind of funny,
That's a lot.
We're trying to get that down.
Yeah, you just be careful because I heard he doesn't like sarcasm. So
it's okay. He can come here and talk to me about it.
I don't have any plans for vacations in North Korea.
Actually, I gotta be careful of that. Dennis Rodman might show up. Can't upset his friend.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of North Koreans outside of North Korea.
Yeah. 28 websites.
So some people think it's related to their domain system that stopped. Oh, it's a KP domain. KP domain. Oh man, we were but it's not PD, it's not KN, it's KP. Yeah, KP.KP. Yeah, I don't know, the Korean party or something. Domain.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So. So some found that DNS was stopped, or some thought that it was a BGP route issue. You know, typically whenever something is not communicating, like what it happens with Facebook and with Amazon, whenever they go down, oh, it's a DDoS attack. They're under DDoS attack. And then after, oh no, it was a DevOps small mistake. But yeah, small mistakes have big impacts nowadays with all the NetOps and DevOps. If you make one small mistake in a line, you just push it out and the whole network crumbles, falls over. Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah, I think I saw a few reports about this where there are some people that are trying to connect the dots together, saying that this was related to the missile firing in North Korea. That Korea's been test firing all these missiles, and everybody said this is a response by an unknown.
After the fifth missile, somebody DDoSed them. Yeah. Good.
I'm not sure what DDoS does for that situation. I think we talked about that. You know, it's just, you're kind of punishing the citizens. I highly doubt those missiles are online. And if they are, we have a whole nother situation there.
Yeah, I also doubt that those missiles are online. He has enough funds to make them, but I don't think that they're that high technological. I don't think he's using that Amazon button for launching a missile.
Yeah.
You know, like the two wires. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and don't forget they have to manage 28 websites, so things can go wrong if you have to manage that amount of websites. You know.
Poor admin. That's a lot of work.
we don't know if they hosted on the same server though. So if it's one server, then it's okay. There are all 28 down. They were just rebooting the server. Just apply the patch on Windows Pro. I know they don't use Windows over there. They have their own version, right? They have their own OS. Actually, I saw a documentary. Every time there's something about North Korea, I try to catch it because it's interesting to see how they work. But they developed their own operating system, and only a few people actually have a computer. So that must be like the most expensive operating system if you count per person, because there's maybe like 50 people using that operating system. It's specially developed for those. And the internet, there's only a few guys who have access to the internet, so only a few IPs that are known there.
Yeah, a very small percentage of the population. Oh, this was a fun DDoS attack.
Oh man, yeah. Another DDoS attack that takes down a whole country. Yeah, there we go again. And
yeah, and this time the objective was a little weird. Why you take a whole country offline? Video games.
Yeah, so it's like Minecraft kills Minecraft, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It used to be Minecraft that killed the whole country from a botnet perspective, because it started from Minecraft. But here it was Squidcraft Games, so Twitch rivals. It's events. So Twitch organizes events known as Twitch rivals, and one of those events was the Squidcraft Games. And as the name already implies, it's based on the Squid Game TV series. So the very popular Netflix Squid Game. So the idea is to actually mimic Squid Game and give like mini challenges to people, but inside Minecraft. And for that event, of course, they invite the most popular and most famous Twitch streamers in Minecraft. I'm not that big in Minecraft, but Ibai, Rubius, Aaron Play were there. Supposed to be the top Spanish-speaking creators. So first of all, I don't speak Spanish, and second, I don't play a lot of Minecraft. And even my son moved on, so I'm not in that area anymore.
I was gonna say your son might know who they are, but I don't know anything about this.
No. So they competed in various mini games over 5 days, and the actual winner was Oli Gamers. Lesser known one, so you see the underdog, they can win. He was the last remaining player, and he took home the full prize pool of the tournament, which was $100,000. But
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I've seen bigger amounts of money for e-gaming, but I think that here was more about the viewers and getting more people, attract people to Twitch and cross propagating them between other players. But the interesting part is that at the moment that Team Andorra came in, so it was in Andorra, and Team Andorra started playing, there was a DDoS attack on Squidcraft, on the Squidcraft servers. And that DDoS attack, you have to know that there's only one ISP in Andorra, and the ISP went belly over for a couple of hours. So there was no connectivity on the internet for anyone inside Andorra for a couple of hours while that DDoS attack was ongoing. And also the DDoS attack, again, just to quote Catalin again from the record, we like to quote him because we know he does his research, and when he says
the best journalist out there.
Yeah, like we know that we can trust when he says something. He has it come from a good source, and he double checks his sources. So that's why typically when he says it, we believe it.
Yeah.
So here you can see also the number of viewers. But first about the DDoS attack itself. The DDoS attack went as high as 100 gigabit per second. So we're not talking about Microsoft Azure level attacks that they're talking now in the latest report. They were talking 2.54 terabit per second attacks.
No. I have that report pulled up. 3.47 terabits per second is the new largest DDoS attack. Yeah, I just saw that going across my Twitter stream. There's an article floating around right now, and I guess we all missed it from the report 2 days ago, but 3.47, dude.
Yeah, that's cloud scale attacks. And hey, by the way, it didn't affect anything. So if you want to do cloud scale attacks, better come with a bigger botnet, because 3.4.
It only lasts about 15 minutes. The peak was really small, like a few seconds, or not a few seconds, but a few minutes, but all amplification.
I wonder if that was an interpolation error or division by 0 or something, then it goes to infinity. Because 3.5 terabit per second, that is really, really big.
I don't know how much bigger they can get, to be honest, because at some point in time, you're going to have some kind of switch failure or something going on with that.
But but the internet exchanges and the providers, come on, everything's going to go down before it reaches Azure. So Azure is pretty much safe because they're not going to go down, but it's going to be the ones that sit in between that's going to topple over. Here, look at Andorra, 100 gigabit per second. They were cooked.
So
yeah, sorry. But They were down.
Yeah, they no, I mean that was really bad. They were
Yeah, and the
not
interesting
much.
thing is that the attack was linked to known servers, well, servers known from a DDoS for hire service or a booter or stressor. So apparently, an entity bought a subscription on a booter or stressor and used it just at the moment that the Andorra team was playing Minecraft. So using internet tools, something that you can just search on the internet, booter stressor service. Okay, I pay for it. And yeah, we know that they go to 250, 300 gigabit per second, sometimes higher. That's typically what you get on average out of those booter stressor. Here it was 100, so it was not even the highest tier that he had to pay for.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, especially once you get outside of the normal booter and stressors you find on like search engines, and you go into the darknet or Telegram channels, you start finding tiered sizes that you can actually launch.
So and just to show the impact that it has, because yeah, we always think like, oh yeah, that gaming, it's gaming. Come on, it's for fun. Well, no, for these people, it's their job, and we're gonna see that in the next slide as well. But look at the statistics. In 5 days, almost 2.3 million viewers, concurrent viewers. I mean, that was peak. That's not added together. That is, at some moment in time, there were 2.3 million people watching those guys.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is probably also why a 100 gigabit per second attack was enough to tipple them over, because they already had like 2.3 million streams coming into their infrastructure. So on top of that, you add 100 gig, and then then things start to go wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an issue for carriers and all these other
it comes on
industries
top
out there.
off. Yeah, you always have
it
to
comes
count
on
it on
top
top
of.
off. It's not like it's only this that comes in. It's this on top of what's already there. And hey, who has 90% of bandwidth in excess of what they really need? Nobody has, because
Well, something you see a lot with cryptocurrency, like whenever the old ICO offering days, and like today with NFTs, these companies are built up and they can take so much traffic, but when you put them, as you say, like 1 million viewers, and all of a sudden you put a little bit of a DDoS attack on top of it, you're already sitting at that threshold enough with your natural viewers and natural users that it's going to fall pretty quickly.
No, it's not my son. He's only 8, so he's not DDoSing yet. I have like a couple of months before he will start. So
yeah, he's probably sitting in another room watching our videos, like just taking notes. Like, okay,
booter,
amplification,
stressor, yeah. 100 gigabit per second.
Why, he's gonna run in here and ask you for $10. You'd be like, why? I need a booter.
I think I have to increase my monitoring stuff.
My booter's got booters.
Yeah. I will have to move my honeypots 180 degrees instead of monitoring what's happening outside coming in, what's happening inside going out.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was a research in the UK from the National Crime Agency, from the National Cybercrime Unit. Oh, it's a mouthful. But the NCA, really they all have their own names in every country, so it's hard to keep up. But the UK NCA, they released a report and they found that there was a 107% increase in reports from the police cyber prevent network. So reports from the police, actual reports, not statistics of attacks, but actual reports from the cyber police of students as young as 9 deploying DDoS attacks.
This blows my mind,
2019 and 2020. So a 107%. Maybe it went from 0 to 1. That would be more than 100% increase, no? Maybe from 2 to 4 or 5. I don't know, but 9, it's young, you know.
I see middle schoolers and high schoolers launching DDoS attack. When we talk about elementary school,
how old were you when you launched your first DDoS attack? Don't answer that.
Yeah, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it's also a game of generations. I was like 52. You were 26, and then the next one is 13, and then the next one is like 7.5. Yeah.
It to me, it's like as I make a joke, like when I was that age, like I'm thinking like when I was in elementary school, I was concerned with like making it to the handball court or like the sandbox. Like
Yeah, well, of course they live in a different world, and I can know it because I have one
yeah, they
here
really
sitting
do.
right here who does it. So he grew up with his iPad. Yes, he's playing online in Minecraft and Roblox and start chatting in Roblox with his keyboard, and then goes to the chatting with the headset by playing Fortnite. But I don't see him actually going on the internet to search for how to do a DDoS attack and actually
I mean,
finding a
and
credit
also I believe
card
this.
and that's a lot of things that they have to do to get there.
Yeah, but these were also kids that are launching attacks against the school. So like, what kid is sitting in the fifth grade like, "F my teacher, I'm getting a
Yeah,
botnet."
yeah.
I
I,
mean,
I still see him having respect for his teacher and listening to his teacher. So it's different between 12 and 16. But anyway,
I
okay.
just, I just,
Jokes
dude, I
aside,
just,
and but
yeah, a fifth grader just getting all mad and getting a botnet. Like, wow,
now, I
your
do
age.
believe that it's a problem, that the problems can start like 12, 13, going into to 18. But hey, UK, aren't you the guys that and I actually came across that by accident, so I can bring it up like I know something. But hey, UK, you are the guys that in 2015 said that you're gonna start investing in a new program to attract school kids between 15 and 18 and learn them cyber and how to hack so you can bring them in for your computer crime services. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but you started
but
it basically.
NCA also is the one that like
But those are
they
not
blocked all
nine-year-olds.
the, but they're the ones that run advertisement on Google about like
Oh
not
yeah.
DDoSing, and you're like
Yeah.
you search for
Well,
booters and stressors in the
they
United
did the
States and get
same.
one thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. They are indeed also the ones that have the Google ads that pop up between the other booter ads. Yeah,
yeah,
but
tell you not to
yeah.
DDoS.
So so what they did in the first instance is running a new program. They call it Cyber Choices, and they did a test, a limited test with like a couple of schools that were connected to schools broadband to a specific education ISP. And every time that they search a keyword that was connected to DDoS, like stressor or booter or DDoS, they would block it and they would show a web page that explains them about cyber choices. So they can click on a video, what can go wrong when you have to go look at it. It's actually pretty interesting. And the logos that are here for cyber choices and level up, they come from their website. Not the picture. The picture is just an angry kid that I found online who was royalty free. So I used him. But besides, but that's probably what they look like when they perform a DDoS. Like,
I just, this whole entire
I
when I
got
first
you
read this
now.
story, when I first read the story, I couldn't believe it. Like I was
Yeah,
reading it, and like the author that wrote it, the source that it came from, were all credible. And I was just sitting there with my jaw dropped. I couldn't. The
yeah,
age is
it's
just,
it's it's amazing. Yeah. Well, yeah,
yeah,
we know that it does happen in secondary school. So between 12 and 18, yeah, for sure, it happens a lot, and especially now when they have school online. And my kid now also has online. He's also sitting,
yeah.
or he was sitting there doing online, but there was no disruption. He had like 4 days of online schooling this week, and not a single glitch that I saw. So I don't
No.
know. Basic school, maybe secondary, primary school. No, I think it's still too young. Anyway, talking about gamers and that being their job, here's an example of rants that were going around on the internet about Apex Legends.
Yeah.
So that was Imperial Hall, and the other one was what's it? Albra. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna
Well,
try
I mean,
it.
this is a common problem in
It's
general, like the rank play
that
of
is not,
online
yeah.
games. Yeah, because I think we talked about this in our first season of doing all this was
Hmm.
Mortal Kombat rank play when it came out. That you'd go into a room and go into a ranked game and you get booted immediately and you lost the points, the person got the point. So like,
well, and GTA also typical because those are still based on a peer-to-peer protocol, and peer-to-peer means that your IP is involved in some case. So if they can find out your IP, they can directly attack the IP of the Twitcher or the opponent and bring only him down. So cause latency only for him, which is even worse. Here it's about the servers, actually.
Well, there are some games that have found success that when there's a disconnect, no one is awarded points.
Yeah.
So it's a lose situation. Like even if the person successfully DOSes you, they're not going to get any points. They're not going to be able to rank. Yeah. It's when you earn points for disconnecting someone that you're rewarded in a bad way. And I think that's kind of what the general argument is about. Yeah.
So Imperial Hall said that he came back to Apex and he's getting constantly DDoSed. And then he says, people wonder why we complain so much. Can't even do my job. So yeah, for those guys, that's their income. They sit on Twitch. Yeah. They do esports. They get sponsored. They get paid. They get a lot of income. There's a lot of money involved with those guys. So if they cannot play, it's really impacting them. Not only to say to losing their rank, because if they go down in rank, they will also have less popularity, less invites, less sponsoring money. So every time that they lose a game, they go down in rank and they are impacted financially by that. So it's not like for fun and games, that's esports is a real business. There's a lot of money in
games used to be for fun and games, Pascal. Now we're
I still laugh when I get headshotted in a game, but yeah, there's people who see who lose 1 million for that same shot,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing how the gaming industry is being impacted by DDoS services, but I do think that there's a lot of lessons to be learned as far as what works and what doesn't.
Actually, his buddy on the same team found the solution. He said the key thing is to play in the mornings because he's in the guy who attacks is in the EU, so he's attacking people midday night. So problem solved. Play in the morning, not in the evening.
I have to give credit to that. That's genius.
Yeah, and he was saying it. So typically it arrives between 4 and 7 p.m. From their experience. So they knew that the guy must be in Europe. And Imperial Hall said, yeah, he's 100% foreign. Got to be the same person that did it when it used to happen before. Yeah. So. Yeah, it has been a problem for most online games, especially when they become competitive. The more competitive they become, the more of a target they become.
Oh yeah, for sure. But also at the same hand, the drama is also driving more followers and attention to their views. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, well, yeah, it depends.
Like you kind of want the attention, but you don't want a lot of attention, right?
Typically, you don't want bad attention, right?
Small botnets only. Man, this is a good story here. This one, this is the final icing on the cake for all the drama this month.
Yeah, well, I still don't know where to catalog this one. It's so strange of an idea to start with. So Norton 360 had the idea because a lot of people, well, they say, or their mindset was a lot of people are downloading Cryptominers to make money from their computer. And I have to say, when I tried it, I'm already hot here because my door is closed. But when I run a Cryptominer, it's sweating hot here. I'm losing a lot of electricity. And at the end of 1 month, I made like 50 cents. Yeah. So I don't know whoever thought it was a good idea and how many people are downloading miners on their PC, and they say, yeah, those miners typically they can be backdoored, there's lots of malware, and they are right. Yeah, there's lots of if you go out there and just download whatever first miner that you find on a Google search, chances are that you will be backdoored or that your wallet gets stolen or that you are paying too much fees and so on. So what they thought is, let's make crypto mining secure. Which, maybe it's not such a bad idea. You're onto something here. If only crypto mining made sense, then it would make sense as a product. So, but also the way that it was rolled out was not was not that well appreciated. So, and it started with Cory Doctorow. Yeah, I asked you, Daniel, if you know him, but apparently he's one of
Mm-mm.
the best-selling New York authors in one of near-future speculative fiction in cyber and stuff like that. Like he wrote the book Attack Surface. So with this, we will have to pick up that book and read it because we have to know who he is. But he was pretty. I even had to censor him on my slide. So he said, "This is effing wild." Norton antivirus now sneakily installs crypto mining software on your computer. Actually, it was not sneakily because it was announced on their forum, and people have to opt in, or better, it was on by default, but people can opt out. Uh,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It was
yeah.
by default with an opt out, which
Mm.
I think that's what kind of upset the InfoSec community is. Here's a security company doing an opt in where it should, or opt out where it should have been opt in to begin with.
So
It should have been off by default.
if you're watching right now and you feel very hot and your PC is still like all the time, if you have Norton, we know what it is. Just open it and disable that crypto mining right
I'm just
now.
gonna put my Norton box outside. It's snowing here,
Yeah.
so peak efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, well, with the electricity doubling in prices here in Europe, I don't think a lot of people have crypto mining on their mind right now.
Yeah, it's true.
So
It's
yeah, and
true.
on top of that, well, this rant said that the company takes 15%, but what I read is that Norton said that the 50% of fees was out of their control. Or maybe they said we take 15% and then the gas fees are out of our control because when you trade crypto, there's also gas fees that you have to pay. Yeah, the gas companies also need to make money because they make the electricity that you're using to, right?
Well, were they? Do you know what they were mining? I didn't actually dive into the story, but were they mining for ETH or were they going for Bitcoin?
No, it was not Bitcoin. It was not Ether either. What?
So it's one of the altcoins.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
lower difficulty, easier return,
Yeah,
but still, like,
exactly. So
as you said,
it
it
was
doesn't
not
make
too
sense
heavy,
nowadays.
but
Yeah.
but there's a Linus Tech Tips. I don't know if you know Linus, but online on
Yeah.
YouTube, if you search for Linus Tech Tips, he has an episode where he was also ranting a lot about Norton. So well, he's typically a ranter, so it's not because he's ranting that I'm gonna believe it, but yeah, he showed some things that the PC starting to use a lot of CPU and they skim off 15% on top of that, so it wasn't really for your good, let's say, and then it also came up that it was Norton said that you just disable it and automatically it deinstalls the crypto miner and so on. But apparently that wasn't the case. Because I can imagine that some corporations have a policy that you cannot install a crypto miner on your corporate device. I think that makes sense as a company.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so if that company happens to be secured by Symantec products and deploys Norton 360 to their clients, and they might have had a surprise that there's suddenly so many crypto miners in the company on all the laptops. So it's
Yeah.
kind of yeah, it's kind of funny when you think about it. But I don't know if it made sense or not. Think given their background, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. It was just a bad decision, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't think that they're trying to be malicious. I think they're trying to be the smartest one in the room.
yeah, do
And
something new,
unfortunately,
and yeah, and they have a point. If you want to do it securely. I fully
yeah, of course.
stand behind that. But if you didn't want to do it in the beginning, don't push it up their throats because they didn't want to do it, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
that's where the
good idea, a
problem
little
is.
late.
Yeah. If that would be 15 years ago, I would love them now.
Even 5 or 10 years ago, like just even
They would
five
have
years
made me
ago.
millions by
Yeah.
now. But
So
yeah, and
definitely an
also
interesting one.
with the crypto market that's in decline, especially now, they're probably not that popular.
Oh, we weren't going to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Guys, invest in NFTs, much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Get your
But
llamas.
yeah, and apes, boring apes. That's where the money is.
Yeah, yeah. The Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah.
That and what is it? The llamas and all the other fun stuff out there. Internet friends. There's so many. It's
Yeah, but
unbelievable.
don't forget.
Maybe we'll talk about
Yeah.
maybe we'll talk about NFTs next month. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. That's a rabbit hole I want to stay out.
Yeah, same here.
With that, we came at the end of our discussion. So how long did it take us? Oh, extra long. Yeah, well, yeah, we started with a boom.
For an extra 40 minutes. That 40 minutes was for you all, the viewers.
Yeah. We enjoyed doing it. And we had a lot of interruptions and a lot of side steps and a lot of rabbit holes again. Yeah. It's
well, hopefully the conversation was rewarding for everybody watching.
I hope so. I learned a lot, as usual. So it's always great to talk about these things and to have our opinions out there within the legal boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Within the legal confines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's still acceptable for YouTube, not to ban us.
Yeah. Exactly.
But besides that, well, everybody, thank you very much. And yeah, we will be back last Thursday of next month. I don't know yet when it is, but it's always the last Thursday of the month, unless we say it is not, like in December. But that was an exception. Log4j happened, so we had to move faster to inform you. But without too big cyber accidents on the road next month, we will be back in the last Thursday of the month. So thank you very much and see you next